Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And if things couldn't get any stranger in this whole Charlie Kirk situation debacle at this point, well, they just spiraled into complete bizarro world as there's reports of an audio recording from dispatch that have come out saying that no autopsy was performed on Charlie Kirk. Essentially, Erica Kirk came in and just signed the death certificate and off they went. But then also another report that came out today that, in fact, there was an autopsy done and has all the details of the autopsy report in it. And I'll tell you guys up front, I have no idea what to believe at this point. I don't know what's real anymore. What I will say is there's huge problems with both of these scenarios, with no autopsy being done, which we're going to cover and get into. And then there's also really big problems with what this autopsy report says. All right, so first thing we're going to do is check out the audio recording of this dispatch message. We're going to go through the no autopsy report story first, and then the autopsy report second, see if we can figure this thing out together. All right, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, helps the channel. And let's jump into it. Here we go. All right, first thing we're going to do, listen to this dispatch recording. And guys, I cannot confirm if either of these things are real. If the dispatch recording is real, if this new post of the autopsy report is real, can't confirm anything. I'm just going based off of what we're being provided, story by story. All right, so here is the dispatch audio where the dispatchers talk about how there was no autopsy report.
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a field clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add a step to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
Yeah, 287, I'll be clear to the hospital.
I need an officer at Timpanogos Hospital to come stage in the emergency room bay.
Jesse just told me that he just got on the phone and Charlie's wife is coming to signature and they're bringing a car over here for her right now.
Charlie's wife is coming to land at signature, you said?
Sir, and Jesse's going to go to Duncan right now and pick up a car for her.
Okay, I'm a little confused because that's what Corey just said. They said they're landing at Duncan, so I don't know where they're landing, but we will just kind of play it by ear, I guess, best that we can.
All right, so there you go. According to this dispatch message, there was no autopsy done. Next of kin came in, signed the death certificate, and off they went. Now, again, I have no idea if this is true or not, but this would be not only massively problematic, but also very illegal. I'll show you the Utah code regarding this right now. All right, so here is the Utah code for handling a deceased body and the medical examiner and how all this works. All right, so there's some very, very important verbiage in here. Let's take a look. So it says, upon notification under section 26B-8-206 or investigation by the medical examiner's office, the medical examiner shall, okay, this is an incredibly important word for those who don't know legal speak, right? Legal jargon. Shall means is required to, must. Assume jurisdiction over a deceased body if it appears that, and then here's conditions. So what this is saying is the next of kin does not get to decide these things. The medical examiner does. So there's no, religious exemption or something like that, some weird thing that happened here, all right? If one was by violence, gunshot, S, or accident. Well, yeah, that meets. 2, sudden death while in apparent good health. Meets that. We move down to 4. Another one, occurred under suspicious or unusual circumstances. So the problem with this no autopsy report story is this is not legal. The medical examiner would be in huge trouble, and you got to keep in mind there's very specific reasons why they are legally required to do an autopsy. The main one being, especially in a murder case, right, is they need the evidence. You got to have the autopsy evidence to take this to trial, because if you try to show up to trial as the prosecutor and say that this 22-year-old kid by himself got on a roof using a 30-06 and take this shot and the bullet didn't even pass through, didn't even make it through his neck, but you don't have any autopsy proof to back any of this up, guess what? This kid's going to walk free. You got nothing now. So it's hard for me to believe necessarily there's no autopsy, but again, stranger things have happened. Also, very hard to believe any reporting coming out of anyone, even Turning Point USA, right? We got that weird Man of Steel surgeon's report that the surgeon found the bullet just underneath the skin. Then we had a different medical examiner supposed report where the bullet hit his vertebrae and traveled all the way down into his heart. My questions are this, because I saw this interview put out by the gentleman who actually rode with Charlie to the hospital in an interview yesterday, which complicates things even more.
Is a foot from me. And his eyes are fixed, Megan. He's not looking at me. He's looking into eternity. He was already with Jesus. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, says the New Testament.
Okay, that's obviously horrible. I feel for this man for sure. However, what he says there is he's very clear that Charlie Kirk was dead in the car. He was already dead. Now, he can't legally pronounce anyone dead. You have to have the actual doctor or medical examiner do that at the hospital. But if he showed up to the hospital completely dead, no vitals, no nothing, no surgeon is operating on a dead body. So where did this weird surgeon story come from? The surgeon found this? What was the surgeon operating on if he was already dead? And then if there's no autopsy, how did you possibly know the second story of where this bullet was or have it traveled down the neck into the heart? Because you obviously didn't open him up. You would have waited for the autopsy to do that. So the no autopsy story, while it could 100% be true, very, very odd for one, and then also not legal too. All right, so we have the non-autopsy story, and again, how do we even know what's true anymore? Like, we got one story is non-autopsy, another story is autopsy. I don't know, right? But let's look at the actual new post that came out today stating that there was an autopsy done and has the information of the autopsy in it. All right, so then you have this post from Died Suddenly. Again, guys, I have no idea if any of these accounts are legitimate or if these posts are legitimate at this point, but we got conflicting stories here. Autopsy done, not done. So here's the it was done that just came out. All right, so new. An autopsy was performed on Charlie Kirk's body, and the death certificate was issued based on the initial hospital findings, and then Charlie's body was transferred to the medical examiner for the full autopsy the next day. Now, this is probably the way it should happen, so I'm inclined to believe that this is most likely true, but again, I have no idea. The standard procedure in Utah when ensuring the timely release of the body for the funeral while preserving forensics analysis under Utah law, autopsies are required for deaths resulting from violent homicide, like we just showed in the Utah code. All right, a detailed autopsy report is due mid to late October and will account for toxicology, histology, and final reviews. And here's where we get into the big problem with this story. Preliminary details have been disclosed, confirming a single 30-06 gunshot wound to the neck that severed critical arteries and the cervical spine, leading to rapid blood loss and death. The other details in the report from authorities prior to closing the case. All right, and so here's the huge problem when we talk about that. If that's what the autopsy report shows, well, now it doesn't match the surgeon's message or the track down his spine and entered his heart version. Now what we have is that a single 30-06 round penetrated his arteries and severed that means cut clean through his spine, which would make sense. But that doesn't make sense because there was no exit wound. So what you have to believe in this autopsy report is that this 30-06 round, and guys, I actually did my own full ballistics tests with 30-06, and we tested some absolutely ridiculous things, not just like a human gel head. We tested cow femurs wrapped in 8 inches of meat. We tested literal steel plates, 3/8 inch steel, 1/2 inch steel. And actually, I'll show you a little preview of that video right here. All right, here we go. Here's our cow femur. The damage to that. Literally snapped in half, and then our neck that we built, that was nice, solid, thick, 4 or 5 inches of meat, absolutely obliterated. That was like 3 to 4 inch cow femur. It's hard as a rock and dense. It's got to hold a multiple 1,000-pound animal up, wrapped in like 8 inches of meat. That 30-06 just blew through it like butter, like it's nothing. So what this autopsy report says, a 30-06 blew through his neck, severed his spine, and then just stopped with this little 1/8 inch or less of skin right here behind the spine. That's where the round stopped. Because if it severed his spine, it went clean through, but there's no exit wound. That doesn't work. That doesn't work anatomically. Okay, human skin doesn't somehow stop the round. So because of that, this makes me inclined to believe that this isn't true. So what's the truth, guys? I don't think we're going to get it. I don't think we're ever going to know, obviously. It's getting so ridiculous. But they have to have, I'm assuming, an autopsy report to, again, and this is where the complications get, because like I said before, if you were to put this kid up on the stand with no autopsy report, no ballistics report, and no proof of anything, which honestly, I still don't think they have real proof of anything. Most of it's all circumstantial at this point. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult to actually convict this kid based off of the evidence provided, unless the FBI has a ton of stuff we just don't know, which could be the case. Now you add in potentially no autopsy report. Nah, dude, that kid's walking free. Unless they just make stuff up. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I believe there's no autopsy report. That doesn't really make sense. But at this point, stranger things are happening, guys. So can we confirm there was an autopsy done? There wasn't? I don't know. You guys tell me. Help me out. Somebody find some proof of something at this point, because again, that dispatch audio message, unless it's AI generated, I'm going to assume it's real, but that doesn't mean the dispatchers necessarily knew that. It said he hadn't gone in for an autopsy. Does that mean that he went in an autopsy after that, but he hadn't yet? I mean, who knows? I don't know, guys. Again, it's all just super confusing. I'm also, guys, I know you guys, I appreciate you guys just blowing my inboxes up with, videos and theories and asking me to cover stuff. I know the big one you guys want me to cover is this lapel mic gun theory, which I'm going to do in the next video. I'm trying to keep up with everything that's happening, and all this new information coming out. I'll try to have that one out tomorrow. And then we also, guys, we're going live tonight at 5 with one of the former top heads of the FBI, Chris Piota, and he's going to break down how he thinks the FBI has done so far in this. So that should be a super interesting one. Also celebrating 300,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much. So we're going to be doing that tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific time, our normal live time. Tune in. We're going to talk about all the weird stuff with the FBI in the case on that one. But as for now, guys, autopsy, yes, no, I don't know. You know as well as I do, but both of them are suspicious. So I'll leave it at that. All right, guys, I'll catch y'all in the next one.